Hello everyone, I'm Ant, and welcome to my bot collection review thing. In my last video I mentioned Kingdom Optimus Primal, and I thought today we'd take a look at another Optimus from the same Kingdom line. Folks, I'd like to introduce to you a right tiny boy. This here is Kingdom Optimus Prime. Now this here is the only new version of Optimus Prime in the Kingdom range, the truck, not the monkey. They're repackaging the Earthrise figure, but apparently the only difference is a slightly different shade of grey on his gun. So for all intents and purposes, this 3-inch high guy here is the main Optimus Prime for the series. And he is small. In fact, if I bring in the original G1 Optimus Prime, you'll see he's literally about half the size. Granted, not the smallest Prime ever, there was a tiny little version of the G1 mould some years back. He's not even the smallest Prime I have, because I have this weird movie-based barely a Transformer thing here. But he is a diminutive fella, all the same. As a representation of Optimus Prime, he's pretty great. Like, it's all here, the chest cab, the iconic head. He's even got his little gum. There is a little bit of side flab hiding the lower part of his cab transformation here, which does make me think they shouldn't have bothered with the whole fake abs thing that every Optimus Prime does nowadays. It's not too egregious or anything, it's just one of those things you notice every now and then. Posability wise, he's a little bit of a weird one. Legs and arms are pretty standard ball joint affairs, and they are some stiff joints. They ain't going to droop at all, and the arms can even withstand a few weighty taps. It's the other bits of articulation that are a little bit odd. In fact, it's arguable if they're meant to be articulation at all. He's got an ab crunch, which is super rare for a figure in the mainline series, especially one this small. And it only happens as a side effect of his transformation. There's no waist swivel though, because the whole stomach is one part. He does have an unintentional chest swivel though. You just have to flip this back panel up and he'll let you swing his chest around as much as you want. Oh, and his head moves too, which means he's pretty poseable and limber for such a small boy. He comes with his signature gun, which has both a tiny 3mm peg for his smaller than usual hands, and the upper part of the handle is a 5mm peg, making it perfect for the more regular sized guys to hold. Interestingly, there's little tiny peg holes on the back of his hand, which are revealed when you swivel them around for transformation. The instructions show an Optimus brand Energon axe as an accessory, but that isn't included, and I don't believe Hasbro has ever showed one off. A third party called Shockwave Labs is making one though, which I think may be my first foray into the world of third party accessories. There's a few other suspect ports here and there, which may be for the allegedly upcoming Titan size ARC playset / figure. It's that ARC playset he seems to be scaled in size for. When the core size class was first revealed, the first things we saw were Rat Trap and one of those fossilizer figures they're doing. A tiny class size like this makes sense for Rat Trap because he is pretty tiny already. Does mean when he stood next to Optimus he's either going to be really big or Optimus is going to be really small. There's also a core size Megatron and Starscream. Quite like these smaller figures, they don't take up much room and they're perfect pocket money toys for kids. Better play value on their own than these weaponizer guys which were around the same price point before. Transformation is both super simple and surprisingly complex at the same time. I don't mean complex in terms of moves, just more the tricks he's doing. As is common now, the abs are a fake part. After folding away his head, you swivel around his cab to show the real truck cab front, then just fold his flappy bit back to reveal the full front of the cab. That's kind of like a scaled down version of something you'd expect on a larger figure. From there you just clip the legs together and fold them backwards, and you complete the cab by folding the arms up a bit. That last move is kind of reminiscent of the original Optimus Prime for me, well except for the lack of easily lost detachable fists. Truck mode is nice, but it's definitely the weaker of the two forms. It all clips together neatly, although some of the pegs can be a little bit fiddly. It always looks a little gappy and ramshackle to me though. Perfectly fine considering the scale, but these grey bits on the side are a tad distracting. You'd think they'd just be red, but figures are usually made with a limited number of pieces and space on their moulding sprues. I imagine they needed more parts to be on the grey sprue, or there wasn't enough parts budgeted to the red sprue, and so these bits ended up being grey. One of them design decisions motivated by practicality rather than perfection. There's also a little bit of weapon storage in vehicle mode. You can pop the gun on the trailer bed so Optimus can shoot people behind him, I guess. It can also be tabbed into one of the grey parts I mentioned, giving him a sort of side gun action. I always think this sort of looks like one of the weapons from Vigilante 8. Getting the head back up from vehicle mode to robot mode is always a hassle. All in all, I'd say core size Optimus Prime is a fun little figure. Quite good in robot mode and a fun transformation that leads to a slightly wonky vehicle. 2 out of 3 isn't bad. As mentioned, it makes perfect pocket money value for kids, especially if you think some of the main cartoon-based figures are a little cheap feeling and overpriced for what they are. And with all that said, thanks for watching, do a like and subscribe and stuff. I'll be back with another review in the coming weeks. Laters!